The Senate is set to vote again today on reopening the government as the shutdown enters its 14th day, becoming one of the longest shutdowns in history.
And it's expected to go longer. Maddie Rivera live in D.C. with the latest. Maddie.
Good morning. That's right. Unfortunately, Carly and Todd, there appears to be no end in sight. Lawmakers are set to vote on the short-term funding bill for the 8th time today, and it is expected to fail. House Speaker Mike Johnson delivering this stark warning.
And my friends, if Democrats keep up their obstruction here today, this is where we're going to be headed. We're barreling toward one of the longest shutdowns in American history unless Democrats drop their partisan demands and pass a clean, no-strings-attached budget to reopen the government and pay our federal workers. They thought it would sell well in the public and it would show that they're fighting Trump. It's all a big facade. I'm so frustrated by it.
The longest shutdown in U.S. history lasted 34 days from December 22, 2018 to January 25, 2019 during President Trump's first term. The second longest was a 21-day shutdown under former President Bill Clinton between December 1995 and January 1996. The 2025 shutdown is for now the fifth longest, just behind the 1978 shutdown under former President Jimmy Carter. Republicans say they want to negotiate with Democrats over health care concessions, but only after the government reopens. Democrats don't trust Republicans, though, to follow through and compromise.
We want to stand with our hardworking federal employees and certainly our men and women in uniform, but we have to enact a spending agreement that actually meets the needs of the American people and at the same time decisively addresses the Republican health care crisis that is devastating people all across the country.
While the Senate returns today, the House is out. House Speaker Mike Johnson is facing pressure to call the House back. So far, he's resisted in an attempt to pressure Senate Dems to help reopen the government. Carly and Todd.
All right, Madeline Rivera live for us in Washington. Maddie, thank you. Let's bring in one of the lawmakers in the middle of it all, Iowa Congresswoman Mariannette Miller Meeks. Congresswoman, good morning to you. It doesn't feel like there is an end in sight. Is that true?
Well, I think that you have the obstructionist Democrats and the Schumer shutdown that are doing this over political reasons. I don't think anything is going to happen until after the rally occurs. As we know, Schumer came under tremendous pressure in March when he voted to fund the government. So they voted to fund the government 13 times. I've voted to fund the government even when we were not in the majorities because I thought it was important. As a 24-year military veteran, I thought it's critically important to pay our military who are working without pay. Also, coming from a military family, I've been there where no paycheck is coming in, where my dad's sitting at the kitchen table trying to figure out how he's going to pay the bills. And will the checks bounce if he doesn't get a paycheck in, and picking up extra jobs on the weekend. So to do this to our military, to our air traffic control, to our customs and border protection, I think that this is unconscionable. So you have federal workers who are on delayed pay. They will get back pay. But nonetheless, the people who are working, who are having to do very hazardous, dangerous jobs, their families are often at home, not knowing when they're going to get a paycheck. And make no mistake, the Democrats, Hakeem Jeffries and Schumer, have voted now. This will be the 8th vote, I think, voted not to fund the government, not to fund our military because they're afraid of their base.
Well, the work continues, Congresswoman, at the White House. And on Friday, President Trump is going to meet with Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky. And Zelensky himself said if a war can be stopped in one region, then surely other wars can be stopped as well, including the Russian war. When it comes to momentum, there certainly is that right now. Do you think that this Ukrainian-Russian war can be resolved? And if so, right now, what will it take?
I do think it can be resolved. I was in Saudi Arabia on October 6th with Senator Joni Ernst. We were there to meet with countries and then go into Israel to meet with them about the Abraham Accords and the opportunity it had for peace in the Middle East. We've all seen this tragedy unfold. We've met with the hostage families numerous times, and this historic occasion yesterday, both joyful and sad, to have the hostage release and the historic, momentous occasion of true peace in the Middle East. And I think we're going to see that under President Trump. And I do think that gives momentum and a signal to Russia that Russia needs to come to the table. They need to stop their aggressive behavior. And I think that they're finding out that President Trump means what he says when he says it. So I think this meeting between President Trump and Zelensky in the White House is, very timely and sends a signal that there can be peace in both regions, both in Europe and also in the Middle East. And I just think there's so much hope that occurs right now because of what we're seeing unfold in the Middle East and in Israel.
Yeah, and President Trump is also weighing whether or not to send Ukraine more long-range missiles. He said that he might talk to Putin and say, if this war is not settled, I'm going to send them Tomahawks, meaning send Ukraine those weapons. So we await a decision on that as well. Iowa Congresswoman Mariannette Miller Meeks, we thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.